What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, aka Darth Apocalypse. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Anthony Davis for the $10 donation via the PayPal. He said, "What's up, brother? Did you hear anything about LeBron not wanting to live in Philly, but instead he will live in New York City, according to Brian Windhorst? This guy is ridiculous, but keep up the good work, my guy. Salute to you, brother, for showing love, man. And yeah, I did hear about that. I did hear about LeBron James. He will not live in the city of Philadelphia, apparently, and he'll be commuting back and forth from New York to Philly to play basketball. And, you know, that's a very interesting, a very interesting development here.
That critically. I say that just from a fascinated situation. The whole, so first off, let's just acknowledge this is a one off moment in the history of the league. We've never seen a player ever say the following things: I don't care about money. I don't care about my family. He doesn't even really that much apparently care about the city because he doesn't seem like he's going to live in Philadelphia full time. Seems like he's going to live at least part time in New York. So this is I don't even know how to frame it because it's really truly unbelievable. Also, as you talk around the league and take a look at this, it sort of feels like a room with a bunch of gorgeous couches in it. All of these players are very, very talented, but the fit isn't quite right. And you also have LeBron being recruited by some of the players, Joel Embiid, multiple conversations, Tyrese Maxey, multiple conversations, Nick Nurse, the coach, represented by Clutch Sports, the multiple conversations. And then this incredible outlier of Jaylen Brown coming in as well, who only spoke with Rich Paul, his agent, before this. So this whole thing is one giant, incredible set of circumstances. And if it works, it's going to be an amazing story. And if it doesn't work,
Let's cut the bullshit, though. He had no choice on the money. He had no choice. I know ESPN is trying to still create this facade that he chose happiness over money, but the market value was not there. And he was forced to take a veteran minimum contract because he's burnt his bridges with so many different teams. He's not the same player. He's not a championship guy. And him choosing a super team confirms that he's not a championship player anymore. He's not. Um, Look, we all know that to a great extent, great extent, the reason why he's living in New York is because he's a snob. Okay, we saw what he said and heard what he said recently about the city of Memphis, right? Which went viral. Like he was talking to a bunch of his white, probably Republican golfing buddies. It was bigging up Nashville and saying how the Grizzlies should relocate to Nashville. Go from a city of Memphis that has a historical ties to the civil rights movement and a 6% black population to a city that's nice. Nashville's nice. Love their, love a lot of their food. Love the chicken and the barbecue. Love all that. But Nashville does have strong ties. It's generally considered the founding city or the city where the KKK started. So I'm just, hey. Not only that, LeBron James shitted on Milwaukee, which explains why there were so many different times, aside from the fact that he was scared to go up against Giannis, he didn't play against Milwaukee because he just don't like Milwaukee. And he even admit he doesn't even like where he's from, Akron, Cleveland. And what all these cities have in common, the three cities, high black population. You tell me what that's about. He's supposed to be a supposedly pro-black guy. You know, so Rich Paul, the same guy that's married to Adele, whose last I checked was not a black woman. Philly, another city with a high black population, doesn't choose want to live there. This guy don't sound like Jesse Jackson to me. This ain't Louis Farrakhan, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't Dr. King. It's like a dude that does not like to be around his people. Well, too raw. There are black people in New York, but we know he's not going to live in Queens. He's not going to be living in the boroughs. He's not going to be living in Bed-Stuy. He could be living where people like him live. You know? He probably going to be living somewhere, Long Island, or he could be living where people like him. Manhattan. He'll be living somewhere where the richest of the rich live. And most of the people that he's going to be associating with are not going to look like my black ass. But he's pro-black, though. Now, I got to be fair, though. Although I think that his reasons for living where he's living is mostly, because he's a snob. And he really don't want no ties to Philly other than the fact that he wants to get a cheap ring or two. That's about it. I got to be fair, though. Will Chamberlain, when he was playing for the Warriors, who were in Philly, right? Wilt lived in New York City. And he did the same thing. It was harder for him, though. He had to commute back and forth from New York to Philly and Philly to New York back in the early 60s. And back then, most of the teams were in the Northeast. Most teams were still in the Northeast, or as far as or generally speaking, all but maybe one team only went as far west as St. Louis. I think the only team on the West Coast when Wilt arrived, the year after he arrived, I should say, was the Lakers, who was in L.A. But still, Wilt lived in New York. But it was more because of the fact that he had a business. He had a nightclub that he owned in New York. He had other business ventures in New York. And he loved the nightlife. He was a larger-than-life personality who didn't feel like he fit in Philadelphia. But he was from Philadelphia. So he had ties to Philly, obviously. He was born and raised there. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Well, the Fresh Prince of Philly, I should say. But Wilt Chamberlain lived in New York mostly for lifestyle and business reasons. I'm not saying LeBron doesn't have those same reasons to a degree, too. He is a businessman. He's a billionaire. And it would suit him better in many ways to live in New York than Philly. But I do suspect some of it is on LeBron's part. He's a snob. And he does seem to have a problem with any city that has a large black population. I mean, how else you want me to spend this? You want me to spend this and tell you something I don't feel? I don't see him complaining about Seattle. Oh, well, they don't have a team anymore, but he did play there. I don't see him complaining about San Francisco. Damn, that's a good city to pick either, isn't it? I guess that would make sense, right? I guess that would make sense. Maybe that's why Draymond did too. But only thing he did, well, San Antonio, he did say it was boring there. So whatever. Tell me what you guys think.